Aim. It's in all aspects of the game. Whether you're a brand new player, a speed player, rating player, stream player, or an aim one trick, this skill set is required in everything. Which is why it's important to improve your aim, no matter how proficient you are at the game. So how would you go about doing that? Well, there's a few different places, but in order to start improving, it's important to start at the right point. As a decently high ranked player myself, I'll help you to either get to the point I'm at now, or how to improve further once you're at this point. There are many different tips and tricks in this video, so if you want to jump around, or if you know some things already, you can skip to different sections using the timestamps in the description. But before going to those, let's start with some general points and tools that can help anyone at any level. The first one being that mouse sensitivity or tablet area do not matter. No matter what anyone says, it doesn't really matter. You can play on 1 DPI or 10,000 DPI, 10mm square area or full area. Whatever the aim sensitivity you're using, anything is viable. You can achieve insane scores with it if you just keep up the training. The next point goes hand in hand with the last one, which is that your grip also doesn't matter. As long as your pen or mouse isn't slipping out of your hand from hitting 1 or 2 jump sections, you can make it with whatever grotesque and unholy pen grips you can conceive of. And believe me, I've seen some bad ones.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Again, what you use doesn't matter. Unless it causes discomfort. The only time I'd say that you need to change grip or sensitivity for improvement is if it's uncomfortable for you to play, or if it's painful in any way. If you start to notice something like that, then it's either time to take a break, or possibly tweak your settings a bit until it becomes comfortable again. For example, for myself, I couldn't do a smaller area than what I have, because if I was to hit small jump sections, my hand would cramp very quickly from needing to be more precise with the pen. But as long as you're able to move your cursor all around the screen without pain or discomfort, you should be good to go with whatever your setup is. This also includes things like tablet driver settings or filters and stuff like that, as I was hitting basically 900 pp plays on stock Wacom drivers. If these help you, then good for you, but they're mostly inconsequential when trying to improve aim as a whole. Not having open tablet driver or filters turned on or off isn't going to be what holds you back. For mouse players, I asked some of my mouse player friends, since I don't play on mouse, and I got the common sentiment that mouse drift kinda sucks. Though some ways to combat it are to aim with your arm, since the more you aim by rotating your wrist, the more that the mouse drift comes into play. The other best thing to do is just to find more areas to reset the mouse position. Picking up the mouse in more intense sections is impossible, but during small breaks, spinners, and even some longer sliders, you can quickly pick up the mouse and reset it just to prevent mouse drift later on. Basically, what I'm getting at with all of this is that copying what others have for settings, peripherals, and software may not be what works best for you. These can work as a starting point, but what truly works best for you may be something completely different, and that's perfectly fine. To add on to this, if you're having trouble finding an area on your tablet, or you feel like your area is wrong and you can't exactly explain why, there's a tool called the OSU Area Calculator. It basically helps you calculate the perfect area based on a replay, and it can all be found in the description. It helped me tweak my area a bit and is definitely a good tool for you to use. Another important tool is the OSU Collector site, which is basically a site that has huge collections of maps that have similar styles or are based on a certain top player's skill set. Here you can find collections of jump maps, speed maps, or even just a large collection of cool songs if you want that sort of thing. It's a super helpful tool if you're looking to train a general skill set, like aim for example. So now with some general tips and some misconceptions out of the way, how about you jump on over to the subscribe button if you want to get going with the training. Now, if you're brand new to the game, or you're generally just not comfortable with your aim yet, we'll start with tips that'll help you out. And as for seasoned players, you all probably know some of this stuff, but there might be some things that help you in these sections, so stick around. A lot of new people may feel that Relax is an easy and free way to improve only your aim. While playing on Relax is its own skill set and can improve aim, the main issue is that it ruins fundamentals later on. If you want to improve in the long term, don't get used to or rely on relax alone. The difference in aim is actually quite large, because while on relax, you have a lot more freedom to move between circles. And as long as you're in the hit window while you're on the circle, you'll hit the note. On the contrary, when playing normally, you have to aim based on when you're tapping, and you have to stay over the circle long enough to click it. Getting used to aiming with relaxed timing windows will make it much harder to unlearn the muscle memory. To get better at aim, you need to play more aim maps. High spacing, low spacing, stars, squares, triangles, verticals, horizontals, and every combination of these has to be added to your aim arsenal. I'd recommend just playing a variety of maps from either Hiox's aim collection or GWB's aim collection. GWB's has more beginner-friendly maps, especially if you play them without double time, while Hiox might have more variety in patterns and can be more tapping intense rather than just straight aim. I'd recommend playing these and some other jump packs from the site just to have as much variety as possible. There are also many different aim mappers, all with their own styles of jumps, so make sure to change mappers to learn different styles as well. And if you want specific shapes, you can use the Osu collection site mentioned before, or you can check out these maps and mappers that specialize in one or two shapes. Basically, what you want to do is train muscle memory for every shape at every size, from small jumps, mid-size, and cross-screen jumps of every type of pattern. Playing without follow points can help with this training as well, since it'll help you recognize the jump type when you play it with them on again. This is less of a tip and more of a misconception. Many people might think that Snappy Aim is better aim, while in reality it's not necessary to be able to aim accurately and consistently. Snappy Aim happens naturally when you're comfortable with a certain BPM. It's not something that you need to force. Typically the higher a BPM of jumps, the more round and flowy your aim is going to become. Rather than focusing on trying to get your cursor to snap to the notes, try instead to get comfortable and consistent with the jumps, and don't overthink about needing to snap. The higher the star rating, the longer the jump sections are going to be. No matter what, if you're going to play 9-star maps, even 390 BPM jumps go on for 8 to 10 notes. While you're learning how to hit jumps, make sure you're comfortable with hitting longer jump sections. While you're increasing BPMs and spacing in jumps, make sure you mix in some longer sections to get that consistency down. Many Grand Senpai maps, Carbone maps, and other unranked or old loved maps have very long jump sections, and are great training for long jump sections at any BPM. Aim stamina being low can be detrimental even on short patterns as well. If you're struggling to aim consistently, it's a good possibility that it's caused by, or at least assisted by, the inability to aim for a long period of time. Playing these will also help you refine your grip, since the constant motion without a break causes grips to slip way more than normal gameplay. Tapping in aim maps can be considered easy, especially when compared to things like complex finger control patterns. Though it's still quite tough for many people to learn, especially if you're moving from single tapping to alting at higher BPMs like I did. If you're having trouble, or you feel like your tapping is holding you back, you might want to focus on that. If you have almost no baseline in alting, I highly recommend you learn how to do it. The best way to start is to do it more often on every BPM. If you want to alt on only higher BPMs, you might have more trouble later on with control. I'd recommend starting from an extremely low BPM like 170 or lower for jumps, and try and get good accuracy on that. Then increase the BPM over time. What this does is it basically retrains your tapping from a new player level, and then working it up to what you can currently alt, which gives you more of a grasp of the fundamentals with alting as well. If you don't want to alt, that's fine as well, though tapping is very important to learning aim, since you need to keep a constant rhythm on aim sections or it could throw your aim off, or you'll miss from tapping before or after you're on the note. Triples and bursts are also an important part of many aim maps. Playing finger control maps are your best option to deal with these, but you don't need to build crazy speed or stamina. Spending time on a couple maps per session can be helpful, especially since jump tapping can drain stamina. Some maps you can train on are Egg Pain, which is very burst heavy at all different lengths and speeds, and for the higher end of speed, the 2018 era jump maps have many bursts. Smokeline's difficulty of Tsukunami is my favorite to train DT triples on, but many maps in this time have a good combination of bursts and jumps. Being able to read is integral to learning how to aim. You can get very far by just reacting to everything on the screen, but as with everything, there's a limit. The harder the map is, the more that reading is necessary to play it. Also note that many top aim players can play reading intense maps despite being known solely for aim. Examples would be players like Plasma, TTV UFO, and heck, even Gnahus became an AR8 hidden player in tournaments with a bit of training. What I'm getting at is that reading is very important to becoming a top aim player, so don't be afraid of really low AR and easy. It could help a ton with improvement. Basically, anything under AR9 is helpful for reading, and it doesn't need to be a focus for you to improve. Though I found that playing it for about 30 minutes at the beginning of my session makes playing everything after feel so much better. But even 20 to 30 minutes of playing lower AR maps can help a ton, even if you're terrible at it. But if it's really feeling unbearable to play, find your favorite map or song and play it with easy, or AR edit it to 9 or lower and use that as your go-to reading map. Trust me, even though learning reading can suck, it will pay off in the future. Improving takes dedication to the craft. If you're trying to get better at aim while also pushing speed or other skill sets, it's not going to work out as well as putting all the time into learning aim alone. If you really want to push your comfort zone and your limits further, you need to play often enough to have a comfort zone and a limit in the first place. This is why many tournament players say they feel like they stop improving once they play tournaments, because being forced to play and get good at every skill set makes pushing limits much harder. As a guideline, you want to put an hour at least into training aim every session, and about 4 sessions per week if you want to see improvement. If you want to do more, then something like 2 to 3 hours per session and 5 to 6 sessions per week would be the most you could do before your progress diminishes. And once you find what works for you, don't give up, slack off, or get distracted. It may be easy to get comfortable after improving a slight amount and work on something else. But without cementing those skills into place, it's much harder to build onto it. Doing all this while trying to push your limits and break out of your comfort zone every time will eventually lead to improvement no matter how flat your plateau feels. Don't worry, we're halfway through the video. You can pause and get some water here or something to hydrate yourself. You probably need it. Okay, now on to the big sections. If you're starting to feel pain in your hands from playing too much, then quit for the day. The game will still be there tomorrow for you to play. Risking an injury that will take the ability to play away for months or years, as well as interfering with other tasks in real life, is not worth it for an extra 30 minutes of gameplay. If you're feeling strained or intense burning, it's not always a good sign. People can only focus hard for around 4 hours per day, with some mental breaks in between. Doing marathons and brainlessly playing for more than that stunts improvement and can be detrimental, so take breaks for both mental and for physical health. Ironically, it'll be better than just playing constantly for 8 hours every day. This includes tilting as well. If you're getting tilted, take a 15 to 20 minute break. It's not worth it to get mad at circles. Being able to control this will be much better for your mentality about the game, which is the number one reason people either improve, or eventually quit or burn out. Get the feel of what you can do, and be careful when pushing past limits. Stretching in between maps can be great at loosening the aim hand up, as well as letting you regain focus on playing. If you feel tight and you have pain in your hands or wrists, you can follow this video guide. It's great and takes only 5 to 10 minutes. It helped me rehabilitate after being injured myself, and I haven't had any issues since. The biggest trap people fall into is the retry spamming cycle. Retrying a map over and over can be good in some cases, such as pushing limits on a map to get a better and better score. But if you're constantly doing this, it's easy to turn the brain off and constantly try and try and try, especially if you're missing on something stupid or easy. Try and limit your retries to 3 to 5 before moving on to a different map, or taking a thinking break. Something like watching the replay, drinking some water, or mentally resetting. If you don't do this, then you're most likely going to retry until either you get the score you want, or more likely get frustrated and give up after an hour, and you realize you wasted your time doing nothing. Constantly retrying on the same parts that you miss on also builds mind block. The best thing you could do in those scenarios is figure out why you're missing and to focus specifically on that part by replaying until that point or making an edit of just that section. Then using that to change your muscle memory for that section by changing everything about how you play it and focusing hard for a couple tries. Then you move on to a different map after you feel like you've made a change. Overall, try not to retry spam, as the monotonous, brainless playing hinders improvement and it's a very easy cycle to fall into. As I mentioned before, I like warming up with reading, though that might not be the best thing for you. But you do want to set up a warm-up routine for how you play. Whether it be a 20-minute warm-up or an hour-and-a-half warm-up, as long as you find something that consistently works for you and lets you feel focused and ready to play, it's a good warm-up. If you're lost as to where to go, an example of a warm-up would be something like, play something easy, something a bit below the star rating you're comfortable playing, just to get everything moving. Then play some reading maps or something that gets you focused without working your hands out too much. The map I like would be Remember the Name by Exarius. After that, play something that focuses mechanics, some aim and some tapping to make you feel more ready to move around at the level you want to play at. Then finally, you can ease into things like high AR or high BPM aim over a few maps to get you into what you want to play for the rest of the session. Sticking to a set warm-up might feel boring at first, but it builds mental cues that help you focus. And then over time, just playing that warm-up map can put you in the zone. It's like how athletes do the same stretch and listen to the same music before a race. It's about building consistent habits for consistent performance. And your warm-up doesn't have to look like this example one at all. You could have a certain map that you love playing, or just jumping straight into AR11 feels much better for you. Overall, it's about getting a routine set up that allows you to focus mentally and get physically ready for improvement. Another more gameplay related tip is for how you're aiming. When you aim, your hand, wrist, and arm should be loose, and aim should feel natural, not forced. Forcing the aim not only can cause injury, but is also less accurate for aiming. Tensing to aim every section is inaccurate since you're using a different amount of force each time. Instead, you want to flow through the sections, even with cross-screen jumps. Sure, you'll put some energy into it, but it should feel smooth and controlled rather than random and chaotic. It will feel weird at first, especially if you're used to fast and flashy aim, but the more you play this way, the more it'll feel better and natural. If you want to get used to this, then it may sound silly, but playing aim way below your comfort range and cursor dancing lets you loosen up a bit and get your aim smoother. You can also play maps just below your comfort zone, and focus on not feeling your aim hand wrists at all. If you feel the aim becoming natural rather than forcing yourself to each note, try and keep that feeling in mind, because that's how you should always want your aim to feel. When all else fails, or you're getting frustrated from not being able to hit a certain pattern, you should go back and check what you're doing wrong. Watching your replay in-game can give a bit of info on how you're messing up and what you're doing wrong, such as aiming too early or late, your tapping's mistimed, you're over-aiming, and stuff like that is all easy to tell within replays. And don't just watch the replay once, rewatch the tougher sections a few times. Focus on what feels wrong versus what actually happens, since we're often biased mid-game, thinking that we aimed perfectly and we missed because of RNG, when we were actually just early every time. Fixing these blind spots is what helps you improve faster than someone just grinding out maps. Saving fails that stand out to you, or you're constantly messing up on, can be helpful to play back and watch. Then either focus on that part in gameplay, or practice it in a quick practice difficulty. If you want to go more in depth in the replay and get more details, I highly recommend either using the laser replay viewer, which has many different options for playback speed and hit markers for where you hit. Or if you very much prefer stable, there's a tool called the Replay Analyzer, where you can take your replay and view it frame by frame, showing the window that you're tapping in comparison to the note. Both of these can give you much more information if you want to go more in depth as to where you're messing up. These are super helpful to really break down the details of what you're doing wrong and find what habits you need to break. Once you're used to everything beforehand, you can start increasing your aim speed. Increasing aim speed is very much similar to increasing tapping speed. It's something you want to gradually increase over time through small BPM increments. With experience, you can feel what your limit with aim BPM is around, and typically if you're tapping the notes too late in a pattern, or the patterns are uncomfortable to aim smoothly, that's when you've reached your limit. Then, once you find a limit to your aim speed, you can start increasing that limit over time. First, you want a benchmark map, something that you can play, and that's just above your limit. If, for example, you can hit 300 BPM comfortably, this benchmark might be a 330 BPM map. After you get that, you can either find a bunch of maps in the 305 to 310 range and play them until you're comfortable, then come back and try the benchmark. Or you can use a few tools like MicOsu, laser rate changes, or the Osu Trainer app to make precise BPM edits to maps you already know, and play and use those to increase your limit over time. Once you can play the benchmark map to around a 95% A rank level, you can find a new benchmark of around 360 and start the process again. Another fun way to improve aim speed is to play alt maps with double time. These are a good start for you, especially if you're mostly a flow aim player, because these maps have your typical flow section, but they also have extremely fast, short, and small aim sections. They're a great introduction into moving your cursor extremely fast, as well as keeping your mind more focused on the tapping part than just flinging your cursor around fast. Muscle memory overall is a good thing. It allows you to hit patterns you play all the time without having to even think about them, but it can also be the biggest hindrance of success. If you fall into bad habits, such as playing too much relax, or not being able to aim to the rhythm, or any other issue that simply came up due to playing incorrectly for too long, you have to know how to unlearn and overwrite those habits. Sometimes, all it takes is a bit of area changing or tweaking, but sometimes it'll take a whole lot more. First, you want to recognize what your issue is. Let's say that you find that you're constantly aiming off beat, something I struggle with a lot. Once you find your problem, you then have to figure out how to rewrite your muscle memory to fix it. There can be many possible solutions for it, but the one we'll go with is the easy hidden route. Playing the same maps you play normally with easy and hidden, or similarly editing it to a lower AR to make it more dense, will force you to aim to the rhythm, and especially more if you use MicOsu or laser to increase the overall difficulty. Doing this constantly will eventually help fix your muscle memory to aim more on beat. This kind of problem will take up a ton of your time when improving, and can be the hardest roadblock to overcome. One thing that is similar to the last section, and may be worth a try, particularly if you feel like you're stagnating and hitting a dead end, is something I call the plasma method. Because, well, he's the player that came up with it. With this method, you'd go through your typical warm-up and play the session for about an hour. Then after that, you change your area, or sensitivity if you're using mouse, to be slightly larger than what you had before. He explains to make it around 20% larger, but if you play on full area or you use your whole mousepad, you could probably increase it a bit less so you can still hit everything on the screen. After doing all that, then you'd play higher CS maps for the next 2 to 3 hours, and before quitting out, spend about half an hour readjusting to your previous area or sensitivity. Once all is said and done, your next play session the next day should feel revitalized, since you basically went past the usual spacing limits. High spacing and cross screens should feel less straining and overall easier in this second session, since you pushed them past the maximum the previous day. Finally, make sure you play maps and songs that you like. If you're playing stuff that you hate every day just because it's good training, you'll eventually hate playing and dread opening the game. If you're vibing and enjoying the music you listen to, the long journey of improving will be just as enjoyable as the top plays you set and the ranks you get as a product of your efforts. Aim is a skill set with the most diverse range of music, so there's most likely something out there that you'll enjoy listening to and playing. And if there's not something exactly your style or difficulty, then you can make edits to existing songs and maps, or just make something yourself. It doesn't need to be ranked to be good for your improvement, though maybe learn to map a bit before you make something yourself. That AR5 8-star isn't going to help too much. Aim is hard, but it's not impossible, and it's not just a talent that only certain people can pick up. It's a skill that can be trained and honed over time, with consistent training and actively playing to improve. Try not to get caught up in gear, filters, and settings too much, because a 1% improvement doesn't matter if you don't work on the fundamentals constantly and reflect on why you're making mistakes. Keeping a good mental state while grinding is very important, so take breaks as needed and make sure to have fun. There's no use in playing a game if it's not something fun and enjoyable for you. Hopefully, these tips help you out on your aiming journey, whether you're just starting out, you're stuck in a plateau, or are just curious on how to get better. Remember that it'll take a while to refine what works for you, but by keeping a constant routine every time you train, and you're always playing to improve, then you'll get good eventually. If these tips helped you, then leave a like and let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have anything you want to add or other tools you found useful, then make sure to share those as well. Let me know if you have specific problems or questions about how you aim. I have a Discord as well if it's easier for you to ask there. Thanks for watching, and, as always, see you next time. The finger